Customer calls up and they say, I need a transformer. Well, what kind of transformer?
Where's it going? What's the voltages, size of it?
You personally have been out to a number of different sites with a tape measure. Equipment is shut down. We're taking photos. We're trying to get everything dialed in to like the nearest 16th inch. How many projects like that have you worked on where when it showed up it wasn't correct?
None.
None?
None. They've all been correct.
It's interesting how many different products we sell, right? Like at a high level, we sell transformers, switchgear, and UPS systems, but would you say it's that simple?
No, I mean, it expands. There's just so many parts and pieces that could go off and play off of transformers and switchgear, whether it be in front of or after.
Sure, and like transformers, like that's such a generic kind of word, right? I mean, there's what, dry types, liquid filled?
Dry type, liquid filled, pad mount, substation. There's just a couple different, options and ways to go in each category.
Right, and then like, so for instance, let's say, a customer calls up and they say, I need a transformer. It's like, okay, you've got to like kind of break that down and understand, well, what kind of transformer? What's the application?
Right, what's the application? Where's it going? What's the voltages, size of it?
Sure. And so like, let's say for instance, like you ask them some questions and you understand that what they really need is a liquid filled unit substation, right? Mm-hmm. And then, okay, so now we understand kind of the transformer product that we're working with. And then even within that transformer product itself, there's so many different configurations.
Right, location, is it going indoors, outdoors? How close are we, if we're outdoors, how close are we to the building? Are we close coupling to any gear before or after?
Right, where's the bushings? Where are the gauges? Are we using FR3 fluid? Are we using mineral oil? If it's indoor, do we need to use a containment pan?
Right, and if are we replacing something that's existing, do we have to worry about, existing footprints, pad layouts and stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. And like, I mean, you personally have been out to a number of different sites with a tape measure.
Yep.
In a situation where equipment is shut down and we're sketching and we're taking photos and yep. We're trying to get everything dialed in to like the nearest 16th inch.
That's right, yep.
And so that's an extra level of stress, if you will, right?
It is. It could be stressful because just, an inch here or there off makes big difference.
Right.
Huge possibilities of issues.
How many transformers have you worked on with a customer where we're retrofitting a case or we're trying to shoehorn a transformer right back in between two pieces of equipment? How many projects like that have you worked on where when it showed up it wasn't correct?
With us, none.
None?
None. They've all been correct.
Yeah, that's impressive, right?
It is, yep.
A lot of time goes into that?
It does, just a lot of time going through even just the quoting process, the approval process, making sure everything is right, triple checking everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And how many questions would you say you have to ask along the way to ensure when that transformer shows up, it's right?
A lot. There's just a vast number of questions that you need to be asked and known.
In a lot of cases, like the customer, and rightfully so, because they don't do this every day, they don't know what questions to ask. They don't even understand what they don't know, right?
Right.
So,
I mean, it seems simple enough, just, hey, let me just take that transformer out and swap a new one in. But, over the years, technology and things have changed. They're getting larger, actually, as opposed to smaller, and just a lot of complications that you don't think about if you don't do it every day.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the transformer world, we've, at a high level, we have dry types, we have liquid filleds, and then in the dry type, space, there's cast coils, there's VPI, there's 600 volt units, and then there's tons of different configurations that we could get into there. You're working on a couple of different projects right now that have a lot of dry types on them.
Yep.
Every single dry type has something custom about it, right?
Correct. These are indoors, a couple different variations of voltages, sizes. There's several different sizes, and just they're going in rooms and layouts that are all different differently, and even the hallways they're going there and getting there rigging wise is different.
Yeah, these projects are a challenge, and like specifically these are college and university projects where they're doing voltage upgrades. Like in this case, this project that we're talking about right now, they're upgrading from like a 5 kV class voltage to 15 kV
Correct.
because they're getting more power from the utility, and that's forcing them to upgrade all of their aging transformers. A lot of cases, these transformers are 30 plus years old.
Yep.
And you know, when they built these buildings in the 40s and 50s for these campuses,
Yes.
there wasn't a lot of thought about how they were going to get electrical equipment in and out of these vaults and basements, right?
So these transformers, they're going to actually break them all down to the core and coil and then rig them through the building and then reassemble them back once they get into the final location.
Right, and some of the other challenges that we've come across over the years is, so the customer actually wants to increase, in some case, the capacity of their transformer because their loads are increasing. But also the transformers themselves have not shrunk, but they've
Correct.
grown over the years,
Yep.
right?
Right.
And that's really just a function of like DOE,
Efficiencies.
right? And so to get efficient, right,
You have to increase the size. Yep.
you got to increase the size, more windings. So we've got a lot of things competing, right?
A lot of moving parts.
A lot of moving parts, and so, you know, when you're working on some of these large projects for these transformers, you're taking into account, like you said, pathways, rigging pathways. You know, are the core and coils going to fit down these different spaces? And then once we get them in the rooms, do we have all the bus in the right spot? Do we have the high voltage terminals where they need to go?
Right. Is it facing the right direction? Left, right, right, left.
Yeah. And so how do you do that? Like you're working on multiple projects right now.
It's complicated and it can be hard to keep it straight, but I think, you know, with the experience we have here, we kind of do it as a group sometimes, and we'll build these Excel sheets and have all the information in there and just keep it all, try to keep it clean, and also not only so we can communicate it with the customer, but as well as the vendor, the factories we're working with.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we talk about around here is on these projects where we're going to be given a purchase order from a customer in these complicated projects. Our goal is to know more than our customer about what they bought and some of the challenges that they're going to be up against as it relates to the equipment that we're selling, right?
Correct, and if there is something we don't know, or we have questions about, we can get the factory on the phone and get the customer on the phone, and we can all get on a Teams call or whatnot and hash that out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but certainly we're not just taking an order, flipping it into the factory and crossing our fingers that everything goes well.
No, we're gonna cross all the T's, dot all the I's, and make sure we feel 100% comfortable with what we're doing.
What about switchgear, right? So, you know, we're talking here about, and you're probably the guy that works at Zang who works on the widest breadth of our offering, right?
Yep.
You're serving so many different verticals that Zang serves. You know, everything from higher ed to wastewater projects, manufacturing projects. You're working across the board. You even help support like renewable projects, data center projects, and so as you work across that breadth of all those different verticals, you're getting exposed to all the different products that we offer too, right?
Correct. And over my like 15 years here, I've been able to build upon relationships with vendors and factories, and so I know who to trust, who to go to for certain things. So that just makes it easier to go to a wide variety of different products.
Talk to me about switchgear. Like, switchgear is such a generic term, right? People say, yeah, we sell switchgear, but switchgear could mean so many different things. It could mean 600-volt switchboard. Right?
Correct, or it could be medium voltage, and then are you talking like, is it utility rated? Is it farther downstream where you're just switching voltages or looping in and out, dual feed applications?
Yeah, and the form factors that it comes in, right? I mean, it comes in like what we call like an upright form factor, which is like standard metal enclosed switchgear, but then it also comes in.
Correct. I mean, you could even get into a walk house application where it's in its own building.
Walk-in house switchgear, low profile switchgear, and then you start talking about low profile switchgear. There's so many different varieties of it.
Yeah, there's just a lot of different varieties. Most people don't know the differences. Just give me a piece of switchgear, and then it's kind of like, well, what's the application? Where's it going?
Right. And so, like, let's talk about low profile switchgear for a minute, right? Over the years, we've seen the state of New York, for example, on a lot of their college campuses.
Or a lot of the parks as well.
A lot of the parks, but particularly on like college campuses, they've been using historically like an SF6 switchgear product, which, it's a switchgear that is very compact. And the reason, and that's exactly why the state of New York uses this switchgear, because they can fit it down into these small vaults and these small electrical rooms and in these dormitories and these other buildings on these campuses. And so they're using that SF6 switchgear, and the reason that switchgear is so small and so compact is because the arc, when you open and close that switch, it's getting extinguished inside of that SF6, so the clearance issues are not as large as you would see on open air switchgear, where you've got to have your bus farther apart, and because you're extinguishing that arc in open air. So you have the ability to make that gear a lot smaller, but now we're seeing a move away from SF6 switchgear, and we're seeing it get replaced with like a
low profile switch, air insulated.
Or in some cases too, right? We're seeing college campuses use like a solid dielectric switchgear, right?
Yep, and lead times on those have come down, so that's another reason why I think it's headed that direction.
Right, and so again, like we've talked about, like there's dozens of different kinds of transformers. We just touched on a few high level, and there's so much different switchgear, and every switchgear that we sell, type of switchgear that we sell, has its own unique application, right?
Unique application, unique manufacturer, so it's all a little different.
Right, and so you kind of have to kind of sit in the seat that you've sat in for the past 15 years and get asked the questions that you've been asked, and work on the projects that you've worked on to like gain all of that knowledge to understand the different types of switchgear and the different types of applications.
And it helps with having that knowledge and experience to reference past projects, so you can pull up a drawing from a different project or something you've provided in the past and said, hey, is this exactly what you're looking for or thinking of?
Right. Absolutely. No, absolutely. Pulling on past experience is actually how we get better and better as we move forward. And having 80 years of experience, if you will, is super significant, right? Because like you've been able to build on that, I've been able to build on that. But what about for like a customer who, like a new customer who might be new to the industry? They don't really know anything about switchgear transformers. They're familiar with the terminology, and at a high level they get the concept. But like, where could they go to like have like a one-stop shop kind of place where they could see all of that different information and have like different cut sheets? Right. I mean, you use our website?
Actually, I use it a lot. We've got it very well organized. And actually, I was on the phone with a vendor recently. We were talking about some parts and pieces. And coincidentally enough, the cut sheet he sent me was actually from our website, the link right to our website.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, we've gone out of our way to try to take all the products that we sell, and that might like live on 50 different websites from 50 different vendors and manufacturers. And we've tried to take all of that information and distill it down in our website in a really organized fashion, like very accessible information.
Yeah,
right?
We've got it all organized under products, so it's very easy, where some of these other manufacturers, you go to their websites and there's just thousands of things. They're not organized very well. It's hard to find what you want.
So Craig, it's not that you can't put a dry type transformer outside. You can, right? Yep. We have customers that do it. I mean, I think, or I shouldn't say I think, I know that if it's up to us, we're going to always recommend that the customer puts a liquid filled transformer in an outdoor application. With the liquid filled transformer, you have a sealed tank, you're protected from the environment. Recently, though, we had a customer who did have a large dry type outdoors, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and I think the reason that they bought it is because it's what offered them the best lead time at the time, right?
Correct, yep.
So they installed that back a number of years ago when liquid filled transformers were really difficult to get. But they experienced that failure. They asked us to build them a replacement unit.
Yep, they did, correct. And actually, this case, at this time now, it's actually quicker to get the liquid filled, so we provided them an option which was cheaper, shorter lead time to do that replacement.
Right, so we took their dry type transformer and that whole setup that they had for their dry type, and we actually got them converted to a liquid filled.
Correct, and they ended up sketching out like their existing conduits, where they're located or whatnot. And there's actually a question of, is it left or right to left? Is my segment high voltage in 2 or 4? And without even going there, just a simple photograph, a picture of the site, I could tell exactly which way to go.
Picture's worth 1,000 words, and I know, from watching those emails and being a part of it a little bit myself, like you went above and beyond and asked a lot of questions to the customer to ensure that when we're converting from this dry type application that was all set up with air terminal chambers on the end and conduits coming up on the ends. Like we wanted to make sure that when we put that liquid fill transformer in, that footprint wise is a lot smaller. Two things, we want to make sure that we got our high voltage and low voltage bushings in the correct spot.
Correct.
But we also want to make sure that the air terminal chamber on the liquid fill transformer is going to be large enough to cover their existing
Correct. We
conduit
actually had to go
locations.
significantly larger on the air terminal chambers in this application.
Right. So you did some custom work.
Yep.
Spend some extra time with that customer to ensure that it's correct. Now that replacement transformer hasn't shipped yet.
Nope.
But when it does ship, I have a very high confidence level that
I agree. I'm not worried.
Not worried at all, right? We've been here before. We've done this before. We've asked all the questions. We've crossed the T's and dotted the I's on that one.